Good evening and welcome to the National Sim Racing Checker Auto Parts 500 here at Phoenix. We're here for a 156 lap tilt here with a big old field of the NSR drivers that you've come to know and love here on Fireball Talks NASCAR. Currently qualifying just getting underway. Currently looking at the number 13 of Tony Kurgel as he starts to get his qualifying laps underway here. Second fastest in practice, that number 13 car is. And Phoenix is a very interesting track here, especially in these Gen 4 cars, because you can run any line you want, and as the tires wear, it will be more viable. You can see Kurgel running much more of a middle through turns 3 and 4, and then cutting down on the bottom as he sets his flying lap right now. Top of the board right now for Tony Kurgel for the first lap. Coming into turns 3 and 4, this is where you can lose a lot of your time. Still very stable through 3 and 4, running that middle lane and then cutting down to the bottom. See what time this nets the driver of the 13. 27.708 for Tony Kurgel. But current fastest driver right now is that number 94 of Nicholas Pressey. See if anyone else is currently setting a lap at the moment. 5, Adam DeFore finishing up his flying lap. Let's see what time he sets. Coming across the stripe, a 28.035. That's good enough for third on the board at the moment. Mark Sikochi in the number 8 Budweiser Chevy starting up his qualifying run, running the middle, and then running about the same line the 13 was. But you can see just how staggered that car is on the right side on corner exit. That's the great thing about these open setup series, is that you can do that sort of thing to help the car turn. But going through the dog like that, number 8 car looks bad fast, coming to try and set his fastest lap in qualifying, trying to dethrone that number 94 from the pole position. Coming across the line, it's a 28.145 for Sikochi, slower than his first lap, a 28.064, so that's good enough for 5th on the board right now. As let's go to the 99 of Patrick Stein. As he's running a little bit of a lower line through 3 and 4, starting his flying lap last lap, a 28.842 for the driver of that 99. Clips the apron a little bit. He's going a little bit too low in 1 and 2. Navigating his way through the dogleg. And let's see the line that he runs in 3 and 4. A lot of an earlier apex, but having trouble keeping it down there. That 99 car is coming to the line. He will set a 29.021. So he will be starting from the back. Number 19 of Brad Lawrence. Coming across the start-finish line to set his first lap, a 28.617. Good enough for 15th, trying to set a faster lap. He scrapes the wall. That's going to invalidate his lap time. So Lawrence going to be starting middle of the pack. Brady Schreckengost came home second, I believe, last week at Atlanta, trying to get a qualifying lap in, but he spins it out, and it looks like he did not. Looks like he did not set any laps, so he's going to be starting from the back. Fortunate for the driver of that 00, but I'm sure that he can work his way through the field with the speed that he was showing. So moving on to the warm-up period to let drivers test out their race setups. And let's give a quick shout out to our series sponsor, IRD Carburetors. You'll see them in the top right corner of the stream. That's their logo in the top right, right above the ticker. IRD Carburetors out of Florida, a industry leader in racing carburetors, racing everything from drag racing to circle track racing to even road racing. IRD really is the king of carburetors in this respect, and they are one of the industry leaders in that field of carburetors. So if you want to take your racing program to the next level, starting with your carburetor, contact IRD Carburetors, the king of carburetors. The drivers getting their racing setups out and trying to just get a feel for things as Mark Sikochi accidentally gets into the 26 of Robert Wiggins, sends him around. But luckily, it does not matter all too much because it is just a warm-up to let drivers stretch out their legs a little bit before the race. Currently fastest in warm-ups right now is 13 of Kurgel. But that quickly gets taken by Nicholas Pressey. As Pressey seems to be the car to beat if practice and qualifying were any metric, as he was top of the boards in practice and top of the boards in qualifying as well. Another driver who's having a good showing right now, number 88 of John Bittler. He's currently running 8th in the warm-ups. Granted, this is not going to be indicative of how every driver will perform, but seems to be holding his own pretty well here at Phoenix. Phoenix is a very tough track in these cars. No matter how much the setup can help you, the aged surface and the low banking and how much you have to brake for these corners, compared with the speed that you're carrying throughout the track at all times, really leads to some great race and had a lot of and tire fall off will be a big concern on a lot of drivers' minds because it is very easy to burn the tires up here, and keeping the tires on the car is going to be very, very important to overall speed. Is you can be pretty slow on the short runs, but Phoenix does tend to lend itself to longer runs, and on them long runs you can gain seconds on the people in front of you if you just save your tires. But a minute and a half left in the warm-ups. Dylan Lansdale, I apologize. Dylan Lansdale in the number 24 DuPont Chevrolet going through the dogleg, currently second in warm-ups right now with the 28.124 as his best lap in warm-ups. Nicholas Pressey, the only driver to set a 27-second lap time in warm-up thus far. We have 15 drivers who have set a lap in warm-ups with just less than 1 minute remaining here. Be very interesting to see how that number 24 will fare in this field. But like I said earlier, if there's any car to beat, it looks like it's going to be that number 94 car. He's had a bad fast race car throughout all of the sessions so far, and no one's really able to be close to him. I think the closest car anyone has been to that number 94 is a 24 in warm-ups, only about a tenth behind. But warm-ups drawing to a close, and in just a moment we will get your starting lineup for the Checker Auto Parts 500 here at Phoenix. Starting on the pole is the number 94 of Nicholas Pressey. On his outside is going to be the number 13 of Tony Kurgel. Inside of row number 2 is going to be the number 1 of Ray Partridge. On his outside is going to be the number 5 of Adam DeFore. Inside of row number 3 and the number 20, starting in 5th place, is going to be Chris Chavez Essery. On his outside is going to be number 8 of Mark Sikochi. Inside of row number 4 is going to be the 14 of Philip Chavez. On his outside is going to be the number 59 of Justin Cope. Inside of row number 5 is going to be the number 77 of Nick Gold. And rounding out your top 10 is the number 69 of James Young. First car outside the top 10 is going to be the 27 of Dawson Kent. On his outside is going to be the 26 of Robert Wiggins in 12th. Inside of row number 7 is going to be the 24 of Dylan Lansdell. And on his outside is going to be the number 88 of John Bittler. Inside of row number 8 is going to be the number 19 of Brad Lawrence. On his outside is going to be Patrick Stein. Rick Durrell and Jason Crumley make up 17th and 18th respectively for row number 9. Brady Treckengo's poor qualifying performance from him lands him in 19th, and Brian Wiggins, the number 15, in 20th. Angel Rodriguez, the number 18, starts 21st, and rounding out your field tonight is the number 45 of Colton English in position 22. So 22 cars showing up for a 156 lap event here at Phoenix. Should be a good race. We'll see drivers running all over the track, but it's going to be Nicholas Pressey to lead them all to the green flag here. Pace car just about to pull into pit lane. And green flag is out. Nicholas Pressey gets a good jump over Ray Partridge. Tony Kurgel getting cleared by that 94 as they all run into turn 1. Everyone keeping it nice and cordial for the moment as cars start to single out here. See drivers running different lines. Most people choosing to run that middle line, but other drivers choosing to maybe conserve tires a little bit and try to run more of a bottom line, so they'll keep it lower on exit and not to turn as much. Let me change the things to laps. There we go. But up at the front, it's still Nicholas Pressey. Early in the race, only 3 laps complete, but he's already pulled out to a 1.2 second gap at the moment. Fastest lap of the race goes to that number 94, as we're looking at the number 14 of Philip Chavez all over the back end of Dawson Kent in the number 27. Chavez looking maybe for a different line to run around that 27, as the 27 blinked out and reappears right in front of him. But Chavez has John Bittler hot on his heels. Chavez maybe trying to get a late apex through that corner to maximize the exit speed. But at the moment, he really catches that 27 on entry early on here. So maybe the 27 really easing into the corners here to save some tire, not be using them as much. But both 14 and 27, different philosophies on exit, as Bittler scraped the wall a little bit on exit right there, but able to close that gap right up on entry. Further up through the field, already lap traffic in play on lap 5. Brad Lawrence had an issue by himself, but it looks like no damage to that number 19. And Adam DeFore has a very hungry Ray Partridge all over his back end. Partridge looking to sneak to the inside, not able to get it done. Almost got to the 5's quarter panel, but wasn't able to seal the deal right there. So DeFore holds on to the spot for the time being, running pretty high up in turns 3 and 4, not getting back down to the bottom. So choosing to enter high and exit middle. Definitely one of the lanes you can take here at Phoenix. As further in the back for 12th, or actually 11th, John Bittler has gone around Philip Chavez. And now Bittler trying to make a move on Dawson Kent. Gets to his inside, and without much pushback from that number 27, Bittler puts himself in the top 10 here, looking to chase down that number 26 of Robert Wiggins. Brady Schreckengost in the number 00 Moon Eyes Chevrolet, slowly working his way through the field. If you remember, he started 19th, and through 8 laps, he's already up to 15th, right behind Dylan Lansdale in that number 24. So maybe he's just sitting behind that 24, waiting for the 24 to make moves, because we've seen that the 24 was pretty fast in warm-ups. So maybe waiting for the 24 to make a move on the drivers in front. Less effort spent on behalf of that 00. But Mark Sikochi making a move on Chris Chavez Essery for the 5th spot. Textbook Phoenix move right there. Just hug that bottom, and the driver who was running further up top had to get out of it more. So Mark Sikochi now inside the top 5. Good start to his race. Him and Partridge both have a good start, 3rd and 5th respectively. Back in 10th, John Bittler has really made up a lot of ground on the 26 of Robert Wiggins. Really utilizing a higher line on entry and through the center to get a straighter drive on exit, but now they have to navigate the number 19 of Brad Lawrence, and it looks like Lawrence may stay high here. Actually, no, that was out of the shot. So that's the 26 of Robert Wiggins, not able to get alongside that 19 just yet, and Bittler's hungry for more positions. But he's also got Dawson Kent on his rear end, only about 2/10 behind him. As the laps here are flying by, already 12 laps in here at Phoenix. And tire wear already starting to come into effect. Remember, the fastest lap of the race was a 27.9. The leader right now is running a 28.6, as Brian Wiggins looking to the inside of Dawson Kent for 11th. Dawson Kent has to capitulate, can't get the drive off through the center of the corner, and now Brian Wiggins trying to make a move on Robert Wiggins for 10th place to put the number 15 in the top 10 as he gets around Robert Wiggins. Robert Wiggins in that 26 looking to be sliding back a little bit. Lost the position to Bittler, and then is starting to lose more and more spots, so maybe he used up his tires a little bit too quickly. See, trying his hand on the outside is the number 14 of Philip Chavez. You saw him and Lansdale running that outside, trying to build up a big run. Here comes Schreckengost to the inside of Lansdale, or at least trying to pull up alongside that 24. But it looks like Lansdale was able to pick up the throttle more through the center and able to hold off Schreckengost for the time being. Chavez around Dawson Kent. So Dawson Kent really in that beautiful looking Castrol GTX number 27. Nowhere but backwards for him right now. Maybe he's thinking that they'll get a really long run, and he will be the one laughing at the end of this. But for right now, he's having to deal with a bunch of cars passing him at the moment, and maybe even one more as Nick Gold looks to try and take a peek to the inside. Nothing happening for the 77 just yet. Lansdell had to get on the binders a lot right there, right behind the 26 of Wiggins. And now here comes Dawson Kent to the inside of Shrek and Ghost. Dawson Kent hanging on his quarter panel right now. Shrek and Ghost going to try to use that drive out through the middle to clear the 27, and he'll get it done. So good move by the 00 to hold on to his position. Now Lansdell trying to get around that 26. Got a little bit loose on exit. Had to give some spots, or not some spots, some momentum to the 26, as we have Adam DeFore in the grass. He started near the front of the field, and now he's all the way back in 21st. So unfortunate for that number 5 Chevrolet, but if he gets a lucky caution, he will be right back in the mix of things. As Lansdell getting the run on the inside of the 26. Does the 26 race him into 3? Yes, he does. Wiggins really trying to make that outside line stick. Forces Lansdell to run the bottom. Lansdell had to get out of it because he was getting a little tight. But Lansdell still on the quarter panel of that 26. Not clear just yet, as Wiggins trying everything that he can to hold off that 24. And that's allowed Schreckenghost to close the gap to the 24. So here comes Brady Schreckenghost to the inside of the 26. Lansdell finally able to clear Wiggins right now. And now Schreckenghost all over the back end of Lansdell, as now Wiggins has Nick Gould to contend with. And Gould looking to the inside of Robert Wiggins. Wiggins is giving it a lot of momentum into the center of the corner. I would not be surprised if that's going to negatively impact his tires later down the stretch. It's Gould looks to make a lunge to the inside once again. Not close enough just yet, as this is bringing Angel Rodriguez into the fold. So we might have a 3-car battle for 13th place right now, as Lansdell pulling away from Brady Schreckenghost just a little bit. But Nicholas Pressey has led all 22 laps thus far, but he has someone to contend with. Tony Kurgel is really starting to hunt down that number 94. About 10 laps ago, the gap was 2 seconds, and now Kurgel has shortened the gap to about 0.6. So let's see the laps last time by. 29.27 for Nicholas Pressey, a 29.1 for Tony Kurgel. So Kurgel right now is about a 10th faster per lap. We don't know if the 13 is pushing per se or not, but we will definitely check in on this in a couple of laps. Andrew Rodriguez looking to the inside of Nick Gould in 1 and 2. Gould gets the drive out of the corner, and now Rodriguez needs to make a move on that 77. He wants to get past him, but he got really loose to the dogleg, got in the grass a little bit. And now he'll have to get that number 18 Interstate Batteries Chevy composed, as he has to deal with Jason Crumley in the 28 right next to him. And here at Phoenix, that outside is so powerful for defending. It can be a real pain in the butt to make a pass here, but that's what makes racing here so much fun, is how well you can defend positions here. Nick Gould seems to have been slowly working his way to the front, as he's now moving to the inside of Robert Wiggins. But Wiggins went really high on entry. Big wobble from the 77. Maybe got on the gas a little bit too early. Kicked the rear end out, but is able to keep it under control. About dead even between the 77 and 26 as they fly into turn 3. Gould going to try to get it done by painting that yellow line. I think he's going to be clear of the 26 on exit, as Wiggins got a little bit tight and had to get out of the gas, and that allows the 77 to get on by. Wiggins really threw it into the corner right there, and that's going to allow Dawson Kent to his inside cars, 26 and 27 battling. And now here comes car 28, Jason Crumley. It's a 26, 27, and 28 all under a blanket pretty much here, as Angel Rodriguez spoils the number party in that number 18. But yeah, that 26, ever since the beginning, has really started to fall backwards. And even Jason Crumley, who really threw it in that corner. Oh, big hit to the outside wall for that 28. I don't know if he just misjudged his braking point or what, but he threw it in there way too hard and was not able to get the car slowed down enough. But either way, car is still driving just fine, it seems, for that 28. Philip Chavez has caught the back end of John Bittler in the 88. So maybe Chavez was saving his stuff just a little bit, as he's within striking distance of that 88. And speaking of striking distance, Tony Kurgel, ever since I mentioned his name, the gap really has leveled off just a little bit, as we saw Nicholas Pressey scrape the wall a little bit. But that gap really has leveled off. They're running about equal times now. But with Pressey hitting the wall, entering 3, he lost about a tenth and a half to Kurgel. So Nicholas Pressey got to be wondering how much that number 13 of Kurgel is pushing. Because even if the setups are different, the tires are still going to be king of all things you have to worry about here. As you saw just how loose that 94 was getting on exit. If you look through his windshield, there's a little bit of counter steer going on the exit of 4. But both drivers keeping a pretty decent 0.7 of a second between each other. Brian Wiggins has really been moving through the field. He's looking to make a move on the 69 of James Young, who's running pretty high up on entry, and Wiggins closed the gap by quite a lot in just that corner alone. So Wiggins easing into 1 and 2 to get a good drive through the dog. Like you saw Young slide up a little bit in the center, and that's just enough for Wiggins to close the gap once again here. This is the battle for 7th. As both drivers running high, but the 15 of Wiggins going to cut it down low side by side for 7th position coming out of turn 4. Young keeps it off the wall, but Young looks like he's going to capitulate to the 15, let him by without too much of a fuss. And that was probably the right move to make with how fast that 15 car was looking. Back in 14th, Dawson Kent trying to catch the 00 of Brady Schreckenghost. And I was mentioning that Schreckenghost was going to try to follow the 24 of Dylan Lansdell, Lansdell, I apologize. Dylan Lansdell has pulled out to about a 2-second gap over Schreckenghost. So Lansdell is one of the fastest cars right now. As you see Dawson Kent trying to use that outside line to get a run on that 00, had to get out of it to not run into the back of Schreckenghost. But Dawson Kent definitely trying his best to put on the pressure in that number 27. He's going to get to his outside here coming out of 2. But Schreckenghost able to just barely pull away, as I think Kent had to ease out of the gas just a little bit. But this battling is allowing Angel Rodriguez to catch up just a little bit. 4/10 behind Kent is the number 18 right now. But Kent not giving up on Shrek and Ghost just yet. As for the lead, the leaders were going through lap traffic, and that's allowed Tony Kurgel to get right to the back end of Nicholas Pressey to maybe try and force our first lead change of the race so far. As Pressey pulling away just a little bit on the 13 down the straight. But they were getting around the 99 of Stein and the 45 of Colton English, and they're coming up on more lap traffic just up ahead. I believe this is 21 of Rick Jarrell they're coming up on. But the gap has visibly shrunk between the 13 and 94. Kurgel got a little bit loose on exit, had to lose some time, and look how much time that he regained in the center of the corner. So these cars have their trade-offs. You can see Pressey is really good on exit, but on entry and through the center of the corner, Kurgel is making up a lot of time. Now the question will be, when do these drivers hit pit lane? Because despite how short this track is, there is quite a lot of on throttle time, and these cars are running right near the rev limiter, so that is using up a lot of gas in these cars. So I would not be surprised. Whoa, Kurgel had to really get sideways to avoid the 21. Caught him in probably the worst spot if he's trying to catch that number 94, as they're getting around the 26 of Wiggins. Oh, contact between the 13 and 26. Oh, lap car struggles. That's going to bite the 13, as I believe he thought the 26 would more or less get out of it and might have tracked out in front. I was looking at my timing and scoring board as that's the 00 of Schreckenghost pulling into pit lane. So the first car to pit under green flag conditions, and someone who we only talked about just a little bit so far in the broadcast, Mark Sikochi, has caught his teammate Ray Partridge, and also Chris Chavez Essery right behind them as well. Essery looking very fast here in that number 20 car. But Sikochi able to pull away on the exit of the corners. But you can see how much time Sikochi and Essery get on the one of Ray Partridge on entry and through the center. But that little lap car incident with Tony Kurgel and Robert Wiggins has expanded the gap from about 0.4 to 1.5 seconds. So all that hard work that Kurgel did to make up the time, now up in smoke, and he has to do it again. But now this battle kind of stringing out just a little bit, as Schreckenghost back out on track, and we'll see just how much of a difference the tires are making. As whoa, big slide from the 00. Nice save from Schreckenghost to not bring out a caution. But let's go to one of the biggest movers in the field, Brian Wiggins, trying to hawk down that number 59 of Justin Cope. Cope running really high up in the corners here, just giving Wiggins a lot of clean air and real estate to work with. But last time by for the leader, they said a 29.59, and their fastest lap was a 27.9 early on in the run. It just shows how much tires have fallen off as Wiggins, looking to the inside of Cope, 3 wide as they navigate around the 99 of Patrick Stein. And Wiggins still looking to get to the quarter panel of the 59. Not going to be able to get it done on entry, but on exit, he gets a great drive through the center, able to pull alongside that 59. But the 59 able to turn left in the dugleg, clears him for just a second. But here comes Wiggins running that bottom. That car is driving real good, it seems, because he did not have any issues sticking to the bottom right there as he gets around Justin Cope for the 6th position. But a good indicator on just how big of a difference the tires are. We're trying to get a feed of Brady Schreckenghost. It looks like he's just about lagged out for a second. But Mark Sicocci has closed the gap on his teammate Randy Partridge. Gap's gone down to about 0.2 of a second between Partridge and Sicocci. So maybe Sicocci looking to make a pass before these cars dive down pit lane. These two drivers are about 3.5 seconds behind the leader right now, but they're running about equal lap times. And I believe the fastest car on track on these original set of tires is the number 20 of Chris Chavez Essery, who is very slowly trying to catch Mark Sicocci, but both drivers comfortably inside the top 5 in today's event. As Adam DeFord looking to the inside of Angel Rodriguez, really threw it in there. Rodriguez got really close to the wall, but he's going to get a great drive on exit here. Going to close that gap up just a little bit. Let's see what Rodriguez does coming into the corner. Gets a lot of speed on entry, but I think maybe the 5 is backing it up on entry just a little bit to get a better drive off. Shades of Kyle Petty at Martinsville, if you want to draw a real world comparison to this. But Adam DeFore having a good recovery from his earlier slide and running about equal times with the leader right now. Last time by a 29.475. But we were just talking about Chris Chavez Essery comes into pit lane, so he's one of the leaders to hop into pit road. So the question is, does this force the hand of someone like Sicocci, Partridge, Kurgel, or Pressey to jump into pit lane? As Dylan Lansdell jumps into pit lane as well, so does Nick Gold in pit lane. So drivers hopping into pit lane. The question is, when do the leaders come in? Because with a tire differential in terms of time of about, let's say, 1.5 seconds, you stay out there, you're losing 3 seconds. You stay out there 2 laps, you're losing 3 seconds to people who pit before you. Pressey's still electing to stay out. Does Sicocci come in? No, Sicocci still electing to stay out. So maybe these drivers trying to run as long as they can here, despite the tire wear, as Nicholas Pressey is going to get a taste of Dylan Lansdell right in front of him, as that's the 27 of Dawson Kent. As we got word that Chris Chavez Essery got a black flag, and now he is 2 laps down after serving that black flag, presumably for speeding on pit road. That's very unfortunate. But Nicholas Pressey is just witnessing that 24 of Lansdell pulling away from him. Brad Lawrence coming into pit lane in that number 19. But Nick Gold is going to be catching Nicholas Pressey a lot here. And we'll get to see just how much faster those new tires are. Here comes Gold. Had to actually get out of it because he was, I don't think he was expecting Pressey to be that slow. And Pressey really is going as fast as he can. It's just those old tires that they're so hard to keep on a line, as Pressey's still electing to stay out. The top 10 right now have all, or actually the top 13, I should rather say, all have stayed out. And only a couple cars, Bittler, Lansdale, Gould, Kent, Chavez, Essery, and Lawrence, have come into pit lane. Maybe these lead drivers are hoping for a either a caution or maybe trying to split this race in half and only make this a one stop, as I would presume the drivers who pit around lap 50 trying to make this a two-stop event, pitting on lap 50 and 100 respectively. But you do lose a little bit over a lap on pit road just from going down pit road and getting service. So we're still in the middle of pit cycles. We will have to see how it pans out. But I would imagine that these drivers who are two-stopping are going to be quite far ahead of the drivers who are not. And with how short these laps are, they're only about 30 seconds a pop. That's about 15 laps on fresher tires. They'll be able to make up a lap on someone who hasn't pit yet. So maybe that is the strategy for the two-stoppers right now, as we're looking at James Young trying to hunt down the number 59 of Justin Cope for the last spot within the top 5, as I believe Ray Partridge has disconnected from the race. I believe he had either had technical issues or something happened with him, but he has seems like he's seemingly retired from this race. So unfortunate mechanical issues for that number 1 car, which seemed to be having a very promising race. But 2 cars who have bit the bullet and come down pit lane, Angel Rodriguez and Jason Crumley, 18 and 28. As Nicholas Pressey has dove into pit lane. So Pressey, first of the leaders really to jump into pit lane here. And question is, does Tony Kurgel and Mark Sikochi stay out just a little bit longer? Or are they going to come in this time by? Because ideally they want to lose as little time as possible to that 94. Kurgel and Sikochi both elect to stay out. Going to be very interesting to see how this will cycle out. They will have fresher tires, but how much time are they going to be losing to Pressey? But your leader at the moment is the number 13 of Tony Kurgel, and Mark Sikochi currently in second place. Everyone up to 7th of Adam DeFore is currently 1 lap down, but that will change when pit stops finally cycle out. As James Young still trying to get to the back end of Justin Cope, cars 59 and 69 respectively. As these drivers are battling with very worn out tires here. And James Young really closing the gap here, just about 2/10 corner entry. And he's really backing up these corners so he can ensure that he gets a good exit here. And he's going to gain a lot coming down the straightaway, as Cope did not get that good of an exit. So Young trying to build the run coming through the dogleg. as he's going to pull to the inside of Justin Cope for the fourth position here on lap number 66. But coming into pit lane, it's the number 13 of Tony Kurgel. That leaves Mark Sikochi out in the lead, and that's going to be Nicholas Pressey getting around Sikochi. So Sikochi might have put himself in a bad spot here, because you practically lose a lap. Practically lose a lap on pit lane on pure speed. So we're going to look at Nicholas Pressey this lap number 67. And let's get an onboard shot to see if he, see where that number 8 car will be when he pulls out of pit lane. But Pressey electing to run the very inside here, not trying to diamond the corner or anything. Coming across the start-finish line, you can see just past him in pit lane, still with the right side jacked up in the air. That was Sikochi, and he's putting multiple seconds on Sikochi just by pure virtue of pitting earlier. So yeah, right now Sikochi's about, I'd say, 11, 12 seconds behind Pressey. And Kurgel staying out so long has put him about 8.5 seconds behind Pressey. But your current leader right now, leading his first laps of the race, going to be that number 15 of Brian Wiggins. Who, it looks like he's going to try to just break this race in half. So we have lots of varying pit strategies here. And it looks like we'll really only have have it cycle out once Wiggins, Young, and Philip Chavez come out of pit lane. But James Young has now jumped into pit lane. So only 2 cars, or actually rather 3 cars if you include the 5 of DeFore, who just came into pit lane. So only 2 cars right now on 70 lap old tires here. And it's your 2 leaders, Chavez and Wiggins, as Wiggins pinches Kurgel a little bit. Kurgel on much fresher tires has more than enough grip to get past that 15. But if you want a guide on how fast Pressey is going on 60 lap newer tires, last time by for Pressey 28.611. Last time by for Chavez 30.052. So 1.4 seconds worth of time just from the tire differential. So Chavez, not in an enviable position at all, because he's going to be hounded down very quickly. But a battle for 11th has emerged. Adam DeFore and Dawson Kent going at DeFore levers his way past the number 27 quite easily. So nice move by that number 5 to get the job done. And with pit cycle in full effect, cars have really strung out trying to get the cars under them. But surely when these drivers pit, they will be behind this number 94 of Nicholas Pressey. And the last thing Nicholas Pressey wants to see right now is the caution to come out. At least not until Wiggins and Chavez come down pit lane. Because Pressey now within 8 seconds of the leader, and we saw when Sikochi was the leader how he was just ahead of Pressey, and now that has changed. But Wiggins jumps down to pit road and he gets a black flag for speeding. So Wiggins, all of that work that he did to stay out and maybe try to cut this race in half has gone up in smoke as he now has to serve a penalty on pit lane. Now, something that I just thought of, maybe Pressy and the others chose when to come in when they did about 10 laps ago, because that was the earliest they could pit while making it on fuel. So if that is the case, Philip Chavez might be able to make some positions on in the very late stages of this race, as he has yet to pit, as we have broke the halfway mark here at Phoenix, and your leader right now is Philip Chavez. Just got laps to go, 79 laps to go here at Phoenix. Still about 40 minutes of green flag race, and assuming this stays green flag, your top 5 at the moment is Philip Chavez, Nicholas Pressy, Tony Kurgel, Mark Sikochi, and Justin Cope. All these drivers are the last cars on the lead lap. Justin Cope is the last car on the lead lap. Only 5 cars on the lead lap right now. And I'm willing to bet that number is going to go down to 4 when Philip Chavez brings down pit lane. And finally, on lap number 79, Chavez brings it down pit lane to give the lead back to Nicholas Pressy, and he's going to have a pretty solid lead over Tony Kurgel, 7 seconds almost over that 13 car, just because the 13 pitted later than that 94. And that will thrust the number 8 Budweiser Chevy of Mark Sikochi into the 3rd position here, as multiple drivers have gotten their lap back now with Philip Chavez in pit lane, and Chavez has gone 1 lap down as he comes out in 8th position. But the good news for Chavez is that he's on about 10-15 lap fresher tires than everyone in front of him. But Nick Gould right now, last car on the lead lap, that number 77 in 7th place. He's got Crumley right behind him, who's currently 2 laps down, so they are not on the same lap right here. But Justin Cope, a pretty quiet performance from him so far. Not making a lot of waves in this race, but it's rewarded him very kindly with a 4th place at the moment. Currently running just a tad slower than the 8 car, but I think you'll be very happy if this result holds up. Further back in the field for 15th, James Young and Brian Wiggins doing battle. Both cars on relatively fresh rubber, 5 and 10 laps for Wiggins and Young respectively. But Pressy with such a commanding lead, we're going to focus on some lap car battles. And Young is really slinging it on the high side. He's getting great runs out of 1 and 2. I wonder if he does the same in 3 and 4. Yeah, Young has really gotten comfortable running that high side, but it looks like he's trying to cut off the exit here and get a good run down the straightaway. John Bittler has found himself cycled up to the 5th position. Great run from the driver in that number 88, owner of our sponsor, IRD Carburetors, the king of carburetors himself, some may say, as Dylan Lansdale trying to pull up to his back bumper and to get himself into the top 5, but Bittler not making it easy for that 24 car, but here comes Lansdale with a big run. Bittler goes high in 3 and 4. Looks like he's going to let Lansdale by. Maybe Bittler picks up the throttle here. He might stay on the quarter panel of Lansdale on exit. Oh, Lansdale just had a little bit more grip than Bittler and able to pull ahead coming across the stripe. But Bittler still looking to fight back. Just doesn't have the drive off. And that's right in front of our leader, Nicholas Pressey. As that's Brian Wiggins diving to the inside. Wiggins on much fresher tires. Nick Gould on older tires than our leader, Pressey. But Pressey certainly in a lap car conundrum right now, as he has faster and slower cars right all around him. And that has allowed Tony Kurgel to close the gap just a little bit. As Pressey going to slide around that number 18 of Bittler to put him a lap down. So only 5 cars on the lead lap at the moment, as Bittler trying to get his lap back by getting a good run and not able to make anything happen. But with all of that lap car shenanigans going on, Tony Kurgel has shrunk the gap, because when they came out of pit lane, Kurgel was about 6 seconds behind, and now that has gone down to about 3.5 seconds. So obviously, Kurgel will have to deal with the lap cars sometime, but he might not have as hard of a time getting around them as Pressey seemed to be having. As now Pressey diving to the inside of Lansdale, and Lansdale letting Pressey have it. So Pressey has now lapped up into the 4th position here, and he's only about 9 seconds behind Justin Cope at the moment, as Ray Partridge has re-entered the race. He's currently 37 laps down. So good to see that one car coming back into the race, trying to maybe grab a position or two. That's valuable credits and points that everyone would love to get. As we almost went 3 wide for a second with Chavez, Young, and Bittler, as I believe Chavez had to dive out of it. But Chavez on much fresher tires than Bittler, holding the inside line right here. And the perks of staying out paying off in spades for the 14 right now. Granted, he's still a lap down, but in the event that these drivers have to pit again, Chavez most likely does not. So he will be sitting very pretty if these cars have to pit again in front of him. But I'm sure that Chavez right now is trying to focus on setting fast, consistent laps without burning up his stuff a lot. As whoa, Crumley got really deep into the corner, almost got into the back end of DeFore. As DeFore trying to make the move for 7th on Bittler. Those 48 lap old tires really coming ahead on that number 88, as the grip that the 5 car has just too much for Bittler to hold off. And Kurgel has lost a little bit of time to Pressey from lap traffic, but it hasn't been a crazy amount. As now Chavez catching Dylan Lansdale, not able to get anything out of him just yet, but he's trying to poke his nose to the inside of that 24. James Young just in front of him is a lap down, or 2 laps down, I should say. 1 lap off of these guys. As you can see just how hard that 14 can really throw it in there. Lansdale on about 30 lap older tires than that 14. And going to be stuck behind the 26. Chavez uses Wiggins in the 26 as a great pick, and so does the 5, Adam DeFore. He's going to get around Lansdale. So Lansdale loses 2 spots in 1 lap, but he's going to try to fling it up the inside of DeFore. Not going to be able to make it stick, and DeFore gets a drive off the corner, able to clear the 24 and keep that position that he just took. But all of that craziness has kind of slowed up Tony Kirchhoff. He's now fallen back to about 4.1 seconds behind Pressey. And while it's good that he's gained time, I'm sure that he wants to be a lot closer than 4.2 seconds behind the leader right now, and certainly doesn't want to be stuck behind drivers on 10 lap older tires like that 24 is right now. As Kurzel able to make the move, stick to the inside of the 24, got a little bit loose, but able to overcome that looseness as John Bittler has jumped into pit lane here. But Nicholas Pressey, as we are approaching lap 100 when Nicholas Pressey crosses the stripe, has really dominated this race when green flag pit stops are not much of a factor. This last car on the lead lap right now is the number 59 of Justin Cope. Still about 7 seconds ahead of Pressey, so he has a little bit of time to worry about being lapped. And if Pressey and Kurgel are maybe two-stopping this, then he won't have to. Then Cope won't have to worry that much. But Pressey lost a little bit of time with Dawson Kent getting around him. Had to get out of it because Dawson Kent pitted again 2 laps down. But he has some of the freshest tires next to John Bittler. And the caution comes out. Not sure who it's for, but this is going to be a big shakeup. And John Bittler and Dawson Kent probably sitting very pretty right now, since they don't have to pit again because all the other cars have not pitted yet. This is not what Nicholas Pressey wanted. This is exactly what Tony Kurgel wanted, because now he will be right on the back end of Pressey. But let's get a replay of what happened to bring out the caution here. Had just over 100 laps of green flag racing. And we're looking at the number 19 of Brad Lawrence, who gets really sideways. Coming out of turn 2 through the dog leg. And just spins it out. And had to tow that number 19. As Pressey jumps into pit lane, Kurgel in as well, of course, to be expected, considering the tire wear that this track puts on these cars. Let's see if anyone has a crazy strategy. Does not look like it. Kurgel gonna come out in second. And yeah, not many people, not many moves being made on pit lane for these top 4 positions as they're going to catch the pace car. But this has allowed Brian Wiggins and Philip Chavez to get back on the lead lap. But they're gonna be waved around the pace car. So if they could get, or if Wiggins, since Wiggins is the only car that didn't go down pit lane, Wiggins and Patrick Stein, if they can get a quick caution to come out as a result of this, they can be back on the lead lap pretty soon. But this is also exactly what Philip Chavez wanted, because now he's just outside the top 5. But it's going to be Nicholas Pressey leading the field with Tony Kurgel a couple cars behind him. James Young and DeFore are a lap down. Pace car pulls into pit lane. It's going to be Nicholas Pressey leading the field to the first restart. Gets a great jump over James Young and DeFore, as you can see Kurgel already moving to the inside of that number 5 car. That's a 24 of Lansdell in the wall, just a little bit in the back, but he's able to keep that car straight. As well, big slide from the 5 car. Kurgel probably didn't want to see that. Didn't want to see a car getting loose on his outside, but he's able to clear the 5 for the time being. As John Bittler has gotten past the number 18 of Angel Rodriguez for the 11th position. But the question is, when does Tony Kurgel turn it on? Because this might go green all the way, and it might be a tire saving battle between the 13 and 94. But don't count out Sikochi either, who is only about a second behind Kurgel. And here at Phoenix, a second lead, if you're on worse tires, is nothing to be comfortable about. But Dylan Lansdell looking to the inside of Nick Gould for the 8th position. Gould running that middle line, pulling just ahead of the 24 on exit here. But Lansdell looking to make a move into 3. To the inside goes Lansdell. Gould is going to get a good drive on exit here. Probably going to be able to clear that 24 if he doesn't get too loose. Here comes Lansdell with a big head of steam because the 77 got loose under the throttle. And oh, big tight moment from the 24. Almost got into the quarter panel of Gould, but keeps it off of him. But he had to slow right down to avoid getting into the 77. Not able to make a move just yet. The opportunity hasn't reappeared in front of the 24 just yet. But Tony Kurgel right behind James Young, about a second behind Pressey. He can see Pressey in his windshield. But how much does Kurgel and Sikochi save in these 47 laps compared to Pressey? Because if I was Nicholas Pressey, I'd be trying to save as much as possible. Saving tires, I mean, because if it's easy. What I'm trying to say is that it's easy to hold someone off if they're pushing, but you have better tires. But it's much harder to hold someone off if they're up to you and you've been pushing and you have old tires. The 45 laps to go, and Tony Kurgel has cleared himself of lap traffic. Now he's going to try to hunt down at number 94. The gap right now is 0.8 of a second with 45 laps to go. Let's see the lap time the next time they cross the stripe. Now that both these drivers are in pretty clean air. Pressey was about a 10th faster that time by. So we will have to check back in on this, but also don't count out Mark Sikochi in that number 8 car, who who shows his speed at opportune times late in the race when it matters the most. Justin Cope is currently running fourth. Got Chris Chavez-Essery right behind him, not on the same lap, but that 20 car is very fast here, and he might have been a top 3 contender if he didn't get that speeding and pit lane penalty. But Justin Cope gonna let the 20 by, knowing that the 20 has a ton of speed. But we were just mentioning the 13's still about a second behind Pressey, not making up any ground. Actually losing a little bit of ground per lap, about half a tenth per lap to that number 94. So maybe Kurgel has decided to save his tires a little bit more, and maybe prepare for a late race charge if we don't get any more cautions. But Chris Chavez-Essery has gone around the 24 of Dylan Lansdale, so Chavez-Essery has one bad fast car, but we do have the caution come out as, oh, that is Brian Wiggins without a front end. So let's see what brought out this caution here. So currently looking at Brian Wiggins in the 15. He's going to be tracking out of the dog lane. I don't think that he knew that Angel Rodriguez was there, and that's a hard hit to the outside wall. Car almost tips over, but stays on 4 wheels and hits the wall again. Car almost tips over again, and Rodriguez just taps the side of the 15. So yeah, I think Wiggins thought that he might have been clear of the 18 in the dogleg, or he got loose and just slid up in front of that 18. But definitely the person who got the lion's share of the damage there was Wiggins. But we did see the 18 with a little bit of front end damage. Thought you can see the nose of that Interstate Battery Chevy was pushed in just a little bit. But almost everyone on the lead lap, or actually everyone on the lead lap, did come down to pit lane to get a new set of tires. And it looks like that this time the leaders won't have any cars in between them. And remember how I mentioned how Mark Sikochi tends to show up at the most opportune times with speed. Well, he has the speed, and he's certainly showing up at a very opportune time. He's going to be restarting second. He jumped ahead of Tony Kurgel on pit lane. So he's going to be starting second with no cars in between him and Nicholas Pressey. But pace car lights are off. That means we're going to be going green flag racing this time by for the second restart of today's event. Sikochi getting right up to the back end of Pressey. Maybe he's going to try to roll up to the back end of Pressey on the start here.
Green, green, green.
As Pressey gets a great jump compared to Sikochi. Kurgel looking to the inside of that 8 car. He's going to get there. So now Kurgel and Sikochi doing battle for second place. Sikochi running the high side, going to get the drive off of the corner. And that's exactly what Pressey wants to see. He wants to see the 13 and 8 battling on the restarts, as he's currently about 0.6 of a second ahead of the 8 and 13, as Kurgel trying to get that second place that he's been running in most of the race back from that number 8 car. But 36 laps to go here in the race. Lap 121 out of 156 complete here at Phoenix, as Kurgel looking to try and carry more momentum through the corner than Sikochi. You can see just how much that car is starting to yaw out on exit. So Kurgel really trying his hardest to get that car through the corners, but not able to make up any ground when they're all on equal tire wear right now. But the question is, how much is Nicholas Pressey saving? Because 35 laps to go, that's still a lot of tire fall off to be had. So Kurgel trying to close the gap, but Justin Cope still having a good run in 4th right now, as prior to that caution with the number 19 of Lawrence, we only had 4 cars on the lead lap, and after 2 cautions, we are back to having over 10 cars. We have 12 cars on the lead lap right now. So it's crazy what 1 or 2 cautions can do to the running order. Kurgel having a whale of a time trying to catch that number 8 Budweiser Chevy of Sikochi, not able to close the gap, still maintaining about 0.3 of a second between these 2 drivers. But with Sikochi running the bottom more, he might be trying to save his stuff up and maybe slowly carve a gap into Pressey. As Justin Cope has really inserted himself into the mix here. He's gained a lot of time on Kurgel, and by association, a lot of time on Sikochi as well. He's actually, last time by, the fastest car out of the lead 4. So Justin Cope might have decided that this is a good time for him to start going into race mode instead of save mode. As I think Pressey is definitely saving his stuff just a little bit, letting the cars behind him inch a little bit closer, because he's really being tender on the throttle and steering throughout 3 and 4. See how he does coming into turns 1 and 2. If he does anything crazy, he runs a little bit higher up, but he's keeping that car very composed and isn't sliding the car around either, which is crucial to speed here. But Sikochi has closed within 0.7 of a second, as Kurgel is maybe starting to slide back a little bit. You saw him get really loose out of 4, able to hold the car together without hitting the wall or getting super loose. But you can see Justin Cope really closing in on him right now. But Kurgel with a great drive out, able to hold off Justin Cope for the time being. As further in the back, oh, we got Dylan Lansdell and Brian Wiggins together. Caution comes out a little bit delayed, but we're going to have to get a replay to see what caused this, what caused that to come out. as they were battling for position. The 24 and 15 were. So we're currently looking at the 24 of Dylan Lansdell. And ooh, that's hard. I think that's. Oh, actually, I think Lansdell got tight. I think he overdrove the corner just a little bit, trying around that middle lane, and just pushed up into the 15. And they both kind of just got stuck together. But that will bring out what I believe is the third caution of today's event. So Pressy going to have quite the gap between him and Sikochi coming into pit lane. Surprised that Sikochi didn't try to get really close to that number 94 on pit entry, but you see all the cars on the outside staying out to get one of their laps back. As it looks like, barring any crazy two-tire stops, Pressy's going to be in the win the race off of pit road. It looks like Sikochi was able to nose ahead of Kurgel, but someone who has stayed out, Dawson Kent in the 27, has stayed out. He's led a lap. Does he jump down pit lane here after leading his lap? No, he doesn't. So we will have Dawson Kent leading this race. We finally have someone leading the race other than Nicholas Pressy. And he's got a couple of cars behind him as well. That's the 69 of James Young, the 28 of Jason Crumley. Right behind him. And since these are single file starts, oh, he's got even more cars. He's got 5 cars behind him. He's got Colton English and Patrick Stein.
Not going green.
It looks like we're going to have one more lap of a caution period. Maybe to try to get cars cycled around to the back of the field here. But when Dawson Kent hits the gas, as it looks like Patrick Stein got the wave around. When Dawson Kent hits the gas, Pressy's gonna be about 0.8 of a second as Colton English gets a wave around. So now only 2 cars separating Dawson Kent and Nicholas Pressy, as Young is going to get a wave around as well. So now only 1 car separating Dawson Kent and Nicholas Pressy, and it's going to be the 28 of Jason Crumley in that unenviable position. But with these cautions, there are 17 cars on the lead lap, and now Crumley's going to get a wave around as well. So now there will be no cars separating Dawson Kent and Nicholas Pressy. And Dawson Kent is really going to be a sitting duck now, as surely he's going to have a heck of a time trying to hold off these cars behind him, as Dawson Kent got a black flag, maybe for jumping the start. That could be the only thing that I think that he got, but he got a black flag for something. And it is going to be Nicholas Pressy getting around him very easily, with about 7/10 on Mark Sikochi and Tony Kurgel. And now Sikochi diving it to the inside of Dawson Kent. Kurgel hoping to follow Sikochi through. Of course, Kent being there is going to affect Kurgel a lot more than it does Sikochi, as Kurgel can't track the car out all the way on exit. With 21 laps to go here at Phoenix, and Nicholas Pressey is going to want to see this. He wants to see these two cars behind him battling. Kurgel making a move on Sikochi. Sikochi's not able to get the drive off just yet. Kurgel got loose on the exit. That's going to allow Sikochi to clear that number 13. But this is exactly what Nicholas Pressey wants to see. He wants to see these two cars behind him battling so that he can gain an insurmountable gap within these 20 laps. Now Kurgel looking to the inside of Sikochi, coming into turn one once again. And they're going to be side by side coming out of turn two. Coming through the dogleg, advantage goes to Sikochi, but Kurgel is going to have the preferred line on entry. Sikochi runs really high up. He's going to try to diamond it down to get a really good run. Kurgel got loose on the bottom. Sikochi going to pull alongside. Kurgel not clear just yet, but he's going to be clear entering the corner. Does Sikochi try a crossover here? He's going to try it as Kurgel gets really loose up top. That's going to lose him a lot of momentum, and now Sikochi trying to get to the inside of Kurgel. Not gonna make it happen, as he's going to try to cut the car down low to get a run off the corner, but Kurgel going to be holding strong in second right now, and that battling is also bringing Justin Cope into the mix. So great stuff that we're seeing right here from second and third. That's allowing Nicholas Pressey to pull away. Gap's now at 1.6 seconds here, and I might be counting, because Kurgel and Sikochi might have used up some of the tread in their tires to hold each other off and to make passes and such on each other, instead of trying to use it to catch that number 94 of Nicholas Pressey. But Justin Cope looking very fast in these last 15 laps in the race right now. 15 laps to go as the 94 crosses the start-finish line. And Cope trying to minimize the gap between him and Mark Sikochi to try and get a podium spot here at Phoenix. Running that middle lane throughout the entire corner in 3 and 4. It looks like he's more comfortable running the middle than trying to cut down on exit. As right behind him, Adam DeFore and Nick Gould doing battle for the last position in the top 5 for 5th position. DeFore really flings it in there, but they've got Chris Chavez Essery, one of the fastest cars throughout the entire race, hot on their heels. Essery to the inside of Nick Gould. And Gould got on the wall a little bit, almost came down into Essery. He's going to have to get it together, but we have a caution coming out. And it's for a stopped Dawson Kent. So let's see what happened to bring out the caution. So give me 1 second to go on standby. Currently looking at the 27 of Dawson Kent. Just overdrove the corner and then parked it up there. I'm a little confused on why he did that. But nevertheless, it has brought out what I believe is the 5th caution today. And all of these cautions happening within the last 50 laps. We had a 100 lap green flag run from the beginning of the race to about lap 102. And as the saying goes, caution breeds cautions. And that has certainly been true for this race. But now the question is, do you come down pit lane? You're on 14 lap old tires. Do you value track position or tires more right now? It's like Pressey going to look into pit lane. So does Kurgel. DeFore staying out. So we have a bunch of cars staying out, choosing track position over tire wear. And that's Adam DeFore, Nick Gold, Philip Chavez, Angel Rodriguez, Rick Jarrell, who we haven't spoken about at all of this race, James Young, Colton English, Chris Chavez, Essery. All of them are in front of Nicholas Pressey. At least Chris Chavez Essery took 2 that time by. That time down pit road, I meant. Because he was able to leapfrog all the cars that did pit. And I tell you what, we are going to have a very interesting last 10 laps here at Phoenix. Chavez, Essery, and Nicholas Pressey right now are about 1.5 seconds behind Adam DeFore, Nick Gold, Philip Chavez, Andrew Rodriguez. Those 4 cars are on 15 lap old tires. They have the freshest tires of these cars that did not pit. Coming to 9 to go, it's going to be Adam DeFore on older tires than the people who pit, leading the field to a crucial late race green flag restart, or late race restart, I mean. Pace car is in. Adam DeFore ready to hit the loud pedal.
Green, green, green.
And he gets on it, and he gets a great jump over Nick Gold, who did not get as good of a start. And you can see Rick Jarrell looking to the inside of Angel Rodriguez for a top 5 spot. Chris Chavez Essery still in front of Pressey as Kurgel gets around Nicholas Pressey. So Kurgel looking to the inside of Chavez Essery. You can see Pressey going all the way to the wall to get the drive off the corner. 3 wide for these drivers as they navigate around Angel Rodriguez. Here comes Pressey to the inside of Kurgel, going back up to the top. Chavez Essery holding his own here as, James Young slides up right in front of him. A little bit of contact. Kurgel gets in it. And, Pressey almost gets involved. Whoa, that was a really close moment between Nicholas Pressey and Chris Chavez Essery as Kurgel almost went over. He ran over the wheel well of someone. But let's get a replay in slow motion because that unfolded very quickly. So currently looking at the 13 of Tony Kurgel. And the 69 of James Young slides up in front of Chris Chavez Essery and looks like it gets loose. Has to get out of it a little bit. I don't think Chavez Essery expected that and had to slow up, and that brought Tony Kurgel into the side of him. And then Kurgel bounces off of the 20. And did Nicholas Pressey avoid that? I think Nicholas Pressey might have avoided that. Let's get just a quick roll bar shot of that 94. I didn't hear any contact between the 94 and I believe it was the 13. So, great avoidance and a race-saving avoidance by that 94 to not hit the 13. But that's got to be gut-wrenching for Kurgel and Chavez Essery, who were having great races up to this point. Actually, a little dent on the front of that 94, as I see just now. But that's going to be gut-wrenching for Chavez, Essery, and Kurgel, who were running up front, or at the very least had top 5 speed this entire race. But if there are 3 people who are sitting very pretty at this news, it is Adam DeFore, Nick Gold, and Philip Chavez, because they know that some of the fastest people on new tires just got in an accident, and now they only have 4 laps instead of 9 laps to hold off Justin Copen, Nicholas Pressey, and Mark Sicocci and John Bittler. So we will have a 4 lap to go restart here, as this race has descended into calamity. Your top 5 right now: Adam DeFore, Nick Gould, Philip Chavez, Rick Drell, and Nicholas Pressey. Can Adam DeFore or Nick Gould or Philip Chavez snatch victory when it seemed like it was sure for Nicholas Pressey? The pace car pulls into pit lane. We're going to be green flag racing with 4 laps to go here at Phoenix. Good start from DeFore. Nick Gould, not as good of a start, as now Pressey immediately jumps to the inside of Rick Jarrell. He has to push if he wants to get to Adam DeFore in that 5 car. Philip Chavez gives Pressey the inside, lets him by. That's the last thing that the 77 and 5 want to see. So Pressey now on the hunt. He's got 3 laps to go. The clock is ticking if he wants to catch Nick Gould and Adam DeFore, but the caution comes out, and we will have a green, white, checkered, it seems. We will have to see who brought out that caution. So stand by for just 1 second. So currently looking at Chris Chavez Essery in the number 20, trying to gain positions, gets to the inside of Brian Wiggins, and I would say that Wiggins was coming down and Essery was coming up a little bit, and just that little bit of contact was enough to send Essery around. And yeah, Wiggins, big hit, and he lost his front end again. Luckily, no one else involved, but that's the last thing Wiggins wanted. But this is a saving grace for Nicholas Pressey right now, because that gap that he had to Gould and DeFore has now shrunk dramatically. And it looks like there will only be 1 green-white checkered here for tonight's event. So if I was Nick Gould or Adam DeFore, I'd want a caution to come out immediately. I'd want the race to end under yellow, because Pressey has a very real chance of catching and passing these 2 in 2 laps. So they desperately need a caution to come out to end this race for them before Nicholas Pressey on his newer tires can get around them. And this is also conditional on both the 77 and 5 getting a good restart here. But pace car lights are out. We're going to be going past our regular scheduled distance. We're on lap 157 out of 159, when we're only scheduled to go 156. Green, white, checkered for Adam DeFore, Nick Gould to hold off Nicholas Pressey on 14 lap newer tires. We are going to have a show here for the finish. And it's going to be Adam DeFore to lead them to start this show. Pace car lights are off, getting ready to make the final turn into pit lane here. And Adam DeFore really wants Nick Gould to get a bad restart here. Pace car is in, coming to the start zone. Green flag is out for the first green-white checkered. And Nicholas Pressey gets a good start. Moving to the inside of Nick Gould. He's gonna make the move stick, but Nick Gould's gonna fight back. This is huge for Adam DeFore. Pressey has to make another move on Gould, and Gould is really trying to hold him back. 2 laps to go. Pressey gonna make the move into 3. Gould in the middle line, holding Pressey down. This is exactly what Adam DeFore wants to see as contact is made with Nick Gould and Nicholas Pressey. Here comes Justin Cope to the inside of the 77. Cope almost gets into Gould in the 77. But this is exactly what Adam DeFore wants to see. He's played the strategy game. He's made it work. He has stayed out when the leaders have come in and the leaders have tripped over themselves. It is going to be Adam DeFore's race to win here. The Checker Auto Part 500 at Phoenix. Wow. What a finish here for a green-white checkered race. Nicholas Pressey has to be feeling like his heart's been ripped out of his chest because he was the fastest in practice, fastest in qualifying, leads, I'd wager, 100+ laps. And he will finish in 4th. Just behind Nick Gould and Justin Cope. Let's get your results up on the screen in just 1 second. Adam DeFore plays the strategy game, works out in his favor. He will win, and it will be Nick Gould also collecting that check for second, as he was the other car to stay out. Justin Cope, quiet race from him, was in the top 5 for most of the race, but finishes a very respectable 3rd place. He will be our last interviewer. Nicholas Pressey, heartbreak for him, leads most of the race, comes home in 4th. Mark Sikochi, average Mark Sikochi finish. Good run for him. Didn't make much trouble. Comes home top 5. Good run from the driver behind that 8 car. First car outside the top 5 is going to be Philip Chavez. His strategy worked out more or less in his favor as he comes home just outside the top 5, but a very respectable 6th place. Colton English with a great finish for him. That number 45 coming in 7th. Jason Crumley in the 28 in 8th, then followed by Rick Drell. Tony Kergel, heartbreak for him as well, running 2nd most of the race, comes home in 10th. First car outside the top 10, Angel Rodriguez in the number 18 in 11th, then followed by Brian Wiggins. He had a heck of a race in terms of calamity that befell him. Comes home in 12th. John Bittler showed a lot of speed early on in the race, slides back to 13th for the driver of that 88. Patrick Stein in the number 99 finishes in 14th, then followed by Dylan Lansdale, who seemed to be one of the fastest drivers early on in the race, could not get it done and just had the race fall apart in his hands as the race went on. He'll finish in 15th. In 16th is Robert Wiggins, then followed by Chris Chavez-Essery, who was one of the fastest cars in the race, but just got involved in a late race accident, and he will finish 17th. James Young in 18th, then followed by Dawson Kent and Brad Lawrence, rounding out your top 20. And 2 cars rounding out your field, both with very disappointing finishes. Ray Partridge in the 1 was 35 laps down due to mechanical issues. And then Brady Schreckenghost in 22nd place, pulled behind the wall early. Don't go anywhere. Driver interviews will be in just 1 minute, so please stand by. Okay, coming back to the broadcast, we're going to get interviews underway, starting with our race winner, Adam DeFore. Let's get him into the booth real quick.
Bama.
Race winner, Adam DeFore, coming home in first after a shaky start. You got a copy?
Yeah, man, I'm good. How are you?
Oh man, I'm doing pretty good myself. That was a very interesting last 50 laps after a pretty clean 100 laps to kick off the race. I saw that you slid towards the back at the very beginning of the race. Obviously, it didn't have much impact on your race overall, considering that you finished in first anyways. But what exactly happened? Because we weren't able to catch it on the broadcast.
Oh, I was coming out of the dog leg and just got loose and spun myself out. And luckily, I didn't hit the wall, so that was nice.
And I'd imagine that you were really praying for those cautions to come out so you could get back in this thing. And with I believe it was 12 laps to go, you saw the leaders pit. Were you valuing track position over tire strength or over tire wear, judging your current position because it ultimately was the right call?
Yeah, I really did not have much tire wear this race, so I could run like the first 80 laps. I ran all of that under green, and my right front was only at like 70%. And of course, I was back in the back after I spun out with like on like lap 10. But after that, I was just balls to the wall after that.
Well, and it certainly paid off in spades for you since you're our first interviewer, which means that you won this gosh darn race. So before we let you go and celebrate your win any further, do you have any people or sponsors you want to thank before we let you go?
Really want to thank Angel Rodriguez. He put a great setup out for this race. It was phenomenal.
And that's everyone who you want to thank?
Yeah, man, that's it.
All right. Well, short and sweet. Adam DeFore comes home the top dog here at Phoenix, and we will see you next week, man.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, coming home in second. Let's get him on the screen real quick. It's Nick Gould in the 77. Let me drag him into the booth. Nick Gould in the 77 coming home in second. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
So you were running, I'd say seventh or eighth for most of the race, and on that last pit stop under caution with about 10, 15 laps to go, uh, were you valuing track position more than tire wear at all?
Yeah, I figured there's going to be a lot of people behind me trying to take the bait, and a couple people in front of me did. So I figured the only way I'm going to make position is coming out, definitely staying out. I didn't have much wear in my tires at that point. I was only getting on the pace at the time. So I figured the tires would be around even. And luckily, the cautions came out more and more at that point. So I was able to just get short fire offs and basically come away in second. My restarts were my problem. I didn't have enough RPM in the car, but I sacrificed the speed for wheel spin, ended up causing a wreck or something like that, and yeah, just toughed it out for a second there.
So yeah, on that final restart, I'd imagine that Adam DeFore was hoping that you would fight tooth and nail for your position to slow up the cars behind you as much as possible. And how hard was it to keep the 94 and Justin Cope behind you because 14 lap tire difference at Phoenix, especially this old version of Phoenix, that's quite a gap.
I figured if I could run the top side as much as I could, I had a great run where a lot of people couldn't get in the throttle on the top side. you got a lot more speed out of it. So I tried to run the top side as much as I could and block the low lane from coming up. And that's what it was. I tried to send the 94. If he was going to pass me, it was going to be on the bottom. And then we got a little bit of contact there coming out of 4. And then it put it in for the 59 to come out and bow me back to the line. However, I figured I'd just stay up top and try to make it clean right to the line. It was close to the line, though. I give him credit for making it clean straight to the line.
So yeah, before we let you go and ride the good momentum from a very nice second place finish, do you have any people responses you want to thank before we let you go?
I'd like to thank up my setup builder, Chris Chavez. I'd like to thank the team. Kyle Carpenter for letting me run. He's a little bit under the weather. Yeah, honestly, it was a good time.
All right, well, that's Nick Gold coming home a very strong second place for that number 77. We will see you next week, brother.
A good one.
All right, and the last person to interview is going to be the number 59 of Justin Cope coming home in third. Let me get him into the booth real quick. It's Justin Cope coming home in third. You got a copy?
Yeah, man, I got you.
So you were running, about 4th, 5th for most of the race, and really didn't make that many waves until the very end of the race. So what was your strategy? Because for a lot of the race, you're the last car on the lead lap, which, considering how fast that 94 car was, is a pretty good thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, I didn't really get much practice in this week, so I was sort of going to this race blind, but I figured we would have had more cautions, which I'm glad we didn't. But that first little long stint we had, I was like struggling because the car was so tight. I couldn't make no adjustments. But once we started getting some of those cautions, I could sort of make the adjustments I needed and, go back and forth on them because we had quite a few there, but it worked out. Sure didn't think I was going to get third, but I'll take it.
So yeah, and I was just about to mention, you came home with third. Do you think anything could have gone differently on that green white checkered for you to come home in first, maybe?
I don't know, man. I don't think I would have got first. I was so close to getting second though. Maybe if I would have gave it a little bit more gas a little bit sooner coming out of 4, I would have had it. Maybe I don't know, but first, I really don't see that happening, man. Once some guys got out front in that clean air, it's like it was gone. Even if he was on a little bit older tires, it was just such a drastic advantage. It was really hard to catch him. But
Either way, you got a very respectable third place finish. So before we let you go and ride the good momentum into next week, do you have any people responses you want to thank?
yeah, just it's really good to see everybody and coming out and racing with us. Appreciate all the drivers that come out tonight, and everybody's been sticking it out all season. And appreciate Sikosi putting everything together, and appreciate you guys for the awesome broadcast, man. It's really a step up from what we've had in the past, and it's good to see. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Cope. That's Justin Cope coming home third place. A quiet but ultimately very strong run for the driver of the number 59. We will see you next week.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, and with all of that said and done, I can get this off. I can get that graphic off the screen, and we can have a more cinematic camera angle. But thank you for tuning in to the broadcast for the National Sim Racing Checker Auto Parts 500 here at Phoenix, sponsored by IRD, the king of carburetors. If you want to take your real-world racing experience to the next level, contact IRD Carburetors. They will get you in touch with the king. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in to Fireball Talks NASCAR. My name is Garrett Hess. I hope you enjoyed this broadcast, and we will be back next week at the same time for next week's race in National Sim Racing. Thank you for watching. Once again, big thank you to Andrew Schulte for his help with the ticker. We'll get the rest of the issues resolved later this week, and we will have an even better version of the ticker with the updated number stylings for all the gadgets that come up on the screen. But big thanks to Andrew Schulte for the ticker and help with the ticker. Big thank you to David for allowing me to broadcast on Fireball Talks NASCAR. And thank you, the watcher, for watching this. My name is Garrett Hess.